Okay, this is Note-Taking Guide 3.2, and we are going to work on multiplying polynomials. So, as we look at this first problem, we're going to take this first term right here and just distribute it through to every single number in these parentheses. So as we distribute this through, we have a 2x squared times 3x cubed. So we're going to kind of break these numbers apart, and we're going to take the 2 and multiply it by the 3 and get a 6. Then we're going to take these exponents right here, and we're going to add them together. And in the last note-taking video, we were adding polynomials, and when we were adding them, we just combined them together. This time, since we're multiplying, we have to add the numbers on the variable. So we have a 6x, 2 plus 3 is 5. So multiplying that together is 6x to the 5th. Now we are going to do the second term, which the second term has this negative 5 connected to it. Now we're going to take this and we're going to multiply these front terms. So we're going to take our 2 and multiply it by a negative 5, which is a negative 10. Then we can put our x down, but we still have to add these exponents. And 2 plus 5, or 2 plus 3 is 5. Just gave you the answer there. Now, we are going to take our 2x squared and distribute it to our third term, which is this 4x squared. We're going to take our front numbers right here and multiply those together. So 2 times 4 is 8. Then we can put our x down, and then we're going to add our exponents. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Now we're going to do this with the fourth term. So distribute that to your fourth term, which is this positive 76x. So we're going to take our front terms, our 76 and our 2, and multiply them together, which is 152. Then we're going to put our x down, and we're going to multiply our exponents together. So you got a 2, and this x has a 1 connected to it. So 2 plus 1 is 3. Now we are going to do it with our last term, which is this negative 3. You got to keep the negative on him. And so we're going to take our front terms, which is this 2 and our negative 3, and multiply them together and get a negative 6. And then this negative 3 doesn't have anything else on here, so we're going to treat it as a 1. So when we put our x down, it's just going to be x. And so our 1 is raised to the power of 0. So when we add these two exponents together, we just get a 2. And then we're not done yet because we need to combine our like terms, which we have 1 x to the 5th, and then a negative 10 x to the 5th, and then all the other terms look fine. So a negative 10, we're just going to take our front terms and this 6, and then we're going to add those together. So 6 subtract 10 is a negative 4 x to the 5th. And then we're just going to add all these other terms to the end of it. So plus 8x to the 4th plus 152 x to the 3rd subtract 6x squared. And that is our answer to multiplying those together. Okay, on our next problem, we are still going to distribute like we did on the last one. We're just going to call this the distributive property on steroids, because this x right here has to go to each term, and this 2 right here also has to go to each term. So we'll just start with this x, and we'll distribute this x to the 8, and when we multiply, we're going to take our variables out in front, which this x has a 1, and this has an 8. So 1 times 8 is 8, and then we are going to add the exponents. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So we're going to have an x squared, and then we're going to distribute this x to this negative 1. You got to keep this negative out in front of it. So take the front numbers, so 1 times a negative 1 is a negative 1, and then we're just going to pretend that there's a 1 behind it, and we're going to get x at the end. So now we are done with that x. We are going to go over to the 2. We're done with it, so we don't need to look at it anymore. We're going to distribute this 2 to this 8x. 2 times 8 is 16. So plus 16x, because this isn't connected to anything. Then we're going to distribute the 2 to the negative 1. So 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. And then what we're going to do to finish this problem off is combine our like terms. So we're going to combine this negative 1x and this positive 16x, which gives us 15x. And then we're just going to drop our negative 2 down and our 8x down, 8x squared down. And that is the answer to this problem. On to this next one. Same thing, we're going to do the distributive property, but it's on steroids again, so we have to distribute this x and this negative 4 to both terms over here. So we're going to start out with this x, and we're going to take this x and multiply this 2x. So our term out front is a 1, and then we have a 2 out here. So that multiplies to 2. And then we're going to take our x's and we're going to take the exponents on them and add them. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So we have 2x squared on that term. Now we are going to distribute our x to this last term, which is a 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then we're just going to add our x to the end because this has nothing behind it. Now we got to take this negative 4 and distribute it just like we did the x. So a negative 4 times 2x. We're going to take the numbers out in front and take this negative 4 and times it by 2, which is going to be negative 8. And then just drop our x down because this has nothing behind it. Then we're going to take our negative 4 and multiply it by this positive 3, which is going to give us a negative 12. And these both have nothing behind them, so we're just going to leave it as a negative 12. Now we need to combine our like terms. So we got a 3x here and a negative 8x here, and both of those other terms don't have anything else to combine with. So 3x subtract 8x is negative 5x, and then we're just going to drop those down. 2x squared subtract 5x subtract 12. And that's going to be our answer. Now as we move to this one, it looks a little bit cleaner than the other one, but we have to rewrite it. This 2 right here means that we need to write this equation right here twice. We can't just distribute that through, we have to rewrite the equation. So when we rewrite the equation, we're going to have x subtract 2 times x subtract 2. And we're done with that up there because we've rewritten it. And now we're just again going to distribute all the numbers in the first set of parentheses with the numbers in the second set of parentheses. So we're going to start out with this x right here and distribute this x to that x. Take our terms out in front, which are both 1s. So we got 1x, and then we're going to add our exponents, which on both of those x's is 1. So we got 1x squared. Then we're going to distribute it to this negative 2. So 1x times a negative 2 would be a negative 2, and then since there's nothing over here, we're just going to drop our x. Now we're going to take this negative 2 and multiply it by this 1x. So 1 times negative 2 is a negative 2. And no x over here, so you just drop that x down. Now we're going to take this negative 2 and multiply it by this other negative 2. So a negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. Now we need to combine our like terms. So we got a negative 2x and a negative 2x. And when we add those together, negative 2 plus a negative 2 is going to be a negative 4x. And then we just drop these other ones down. So x squared plus 4. And that's going to be our answer. Okay, last problem on this note-taking guide. It shows it with a picture, but what's it says write the polynomial that represents the area of this shaded region. So how do you find an area of a rectangle? You would multiply this side by this side, right? So we're just going to do the same exact thing. We're going to multiply 2x and then we're going to multiply this side right here, which is a little weird because we have this 3, which is only to this section right here, and this 4, which is only to that section right there. But we want this whole length. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add them together by putting a plus sign in between them, and that will give us this full length of this rectangle. So we're going to go 3x plus 4, and it looks just like that first problem that we started with. So all we're going to do to finish this off is do our distributive property, and we're going to take this 2x and distribute it to this 3x. Multiply the terms out in front. 2 times 3 is 6x. And then we're going to add our exponents. So x to the first and x to the first. So 1 plus 1 is 2. And then we're going to take our 2x and multiply it to this last term, which is a 4. So front terms, 2 times 4 is 8. And then this has nothing over behind it. And so we're just going to take this x and drop it down. And that is our answer.